U.S. Capitol. In 1964, Black people could not use white bathrooms. Starting TDOR 2024, it's trans people. On Trans Day of Remembrance, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson announced a policy banning transgender individuals from using bathrooms aligned with their gender identity in the U.S. Capitol and House office buildings. The new rule reserves all single-sex facilities, restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms for individuals based on their gender assigned at birth. Johnson defended the policy, stating that unisex bathrooms are available and each congressional office has private facilities. Earlier this week, in advance of TDOR, there were hints that a Capitol bathroom policy would be implemented against the new Congresswoman from Delaware. Instead, he made the policy universal for all trans people. He said, quote, "Women deserve women's only spaces," end quote. The policy applies only to areas under House jurisdiction, leaving Senate-controlled spaces unaffected as Democrats are in control until January. The announcement follows heightened tensions among Republicans who appear emboldened after the recent general election. The election of Sarah McBride, the first out transgender member of Congress, has sparked targeted measures like this one. Representative Nancy Mace openly admitted her proposed resolutions aimed to bar transgender women from women's restrooms were in direct response to McBride's election. Critics have denounced the policy, with Wisconsin Representative Mark Pocan calling it, quote, "a cruel and unnecessary rule that risks rampant abuse, harassment, and discrimination," end quote. Many are also drawing a parallel between this new bathroom announcement in 2024 and when Black people could not use Capitol white bathrooms due to Jim Crow laws. U.S. Capitol bathrooms were finally settled in law by the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Could millions of LGBTQ community members be facing their own Jim Crow in 2024? I say yes.
Yes, unfortunately.
As an open trans woman, this is horrifying for myself and the trans community. I transitioned 12 years ago, and I have never had an issue going into a woman's room or a spa or anything of that nature. And it's now I'm afraid.
Right.
I'm scared. You know, you have places like in Texas where they have bounties, you know, $10,000 bounty if you see someone who you suspect is not aligning with their gender going into a ladies' room.
Right.
So what's going to happen? I'm going to have to use the men's room, and trans men are going to need to use the women's room?
Let's hear what both, you know, these straight men and the women feel about trans men going into the women's room. And you can't have it both ways. You know, and the reality is that most people don't care. They're not paying attention to who's, especially in the women's room. You're in line. Everybody goes into their own stall. It's not like a men's room where there are urinals, but even so.
And there's still stalls.
There's
So it's like if you want to go in the stall, you go in the stall. If you want to use
these arguments are just hurtful. Period.
Well, and also this is to really push the anti-trans agenda. You know, you have Mike Johnson, you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they're screaming things, you know, like a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and a man can't be a woman. And I think this is just setting up the stage for more anti-trans rhetoric. Actually, December 4th, the Supreme Court is actually going to be listening to an oral presentation of Scrimetti, U.S. versus Scrimetti, and Jonathan Scrimetti is the Attorney General for Tennessee. And this all revolves around lower courts reversing gender affirming care for minors. So now the Supreme Court is going to be listening to this in December. So I think a lot of this also is a preface to that, to just get things, you know, the violence out there, the anti-everything against trans. And it's a really scary time to be trans right now. But we've lived through so much. the whole LGBTQ community. We just all have to really band together
Right.
and defend each other, equally and move
Absolutely.
forward.
For sure.
And that's the attitude we have to take every
Right.
day.
Absolutely.
Acknowledge our feelings and then move forward.
I think it was Kennedy that said, "No one is truly free until everybody
Right.
is free."
Aren't there bigger issues at hand, though? Aren't
Of
we?
course there are.
With
Yes.
China,
Of course.
isn't there a illiteracy issue in
Yes.
America?
There has to
A
be an
homelessness
enemy.
issue.
There has to be
Yeah,
an
they're looking
enemy.
for scapegoats.
And right now,
It's
the
necessary.
trans community.
And the timing of this on TDOR just
Oh,
shows
right.
how
Yeah.
hateful
Disrespectful.
little Mike Johnson truly is. But it's not surprising because he aligns himself with evangelicals.
Right.
So there's nothing surprising about it. But I'll tell you what there is about it. It's deplorable, truly.
Exactly.
It is. And Sarah McBride,
She was right.
Her rebuttal was pretty calm. And there are a lot of trans advocates that wish she would have stood up more. But she made the point. I was voted by the people of Delaware
That's right.
to deal with XYZ issues.
People have
So I understand where she's coming
Yeah.
from as well. So,
She has a big job ahead of her.
she sure does.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I respect her statement saying, I came to Congress to serve my constituents who elected me. I didn't come here to talk about me being trans.
Right.
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 So,
Okay, sure.
yeah.